Welcome back, everyone. That's right. It is Friday, Pleb Underground. I am your host, Coin Icarus. So conference week, Bitcoin conference is finally over, and we got a whole lot of content from it, right? Thanks to Bitcoin Magazine and Tales from the Crypt and the Bitcoin conference account themselves, right? They did a really great job, putting out a lot of the different interviews, and of course. Right? What did I do? I went and aggregated a lot of this stuff. Of course, we're not going to sit here and look at, 2 hours of footage. Okay. What I am going to do is give the TLDR. Okay. So get ready, guys. Cause, there was some interesting stuff. There was some interesting stuff at the conference, and we're going to cover it as holistically as possible. Anyways, but before we do, as you guys know, we're going to give some love to the Pleb Underground sponsor. We will be back in like 20, 30 seconds, and we're going to dive into it. All right, here we go, guys. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. They make absolutely beautiful Bitcoin branded products. They just dropped their first one. It is the solid aluminum Bitcoin clock. I had to get my hands on it so that I could show it to you guys. Take a look. Really, really nice piece. Beautiful craftsmanship. Head on over to archamp.co. The link is going to be in the show notes. That is Archimedes Emporium. Head on over there. All right. We are back. That's right. Archimedes Emporium. That is cipher safe for the people who don't know. And yeah, he does a lot of really beautiful CNC work, a lot of metal craftsmanship. Very high quality. Anyways, guys, let's dive into it. So, Bitcoin conference, right? If you were paying attention to those live streams, if you weren't actually there, then you most likely noticed a bit of a pattern, right? There was a couple of different patterns that emerged out of the out of the conference. So yeah, let's dive into it. Here we go. Here, I'm gonna put up the hey, good morning, guys, or good afternoon. Thanks, ACP. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know I don't do enough of that, right? I don't say enough to, smash the likes and subscribe and all that stuff. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe it's not part of my repertoire. I'm too old. Okay. Anyways, I'll shut up. Let's dive into it, guys. Here we go. Everybody's here for Bitcoin. Back in 2017, 2018, I was told retail is here. That's it. This is it, guys. I got to tell you. Going to the conferences back then, going to the conferences in 2022, and seeing what I saw, not being at the conference this year, but just based on the content, I got to tell you, retail was not there in 2017. Okay, it was just a whole bunch of experimentation and testing to see if they could get retail there. But based on the speakers at this conference, I would say that retail is here. So let's dive into it. Here we go. Okay, so first up, New York Mayor Eric Adams. That's right. Now, all of a sudden, New York, which has made it extremely difficult for Bitcoin and crypto. Guess what, though? They found an ally in Bitbonds, right? Because now, all of a sudden, they figured out a way that they can try to siphon money by using Bitbonds. So guess what? New York, all of a sudden, loves Bitcoin. All right, next. We've got the BlackRock managing director. Bitcoin's got much higher to go. If any of you guys actually listened to any of these talks, it's really fascinating to hear them just repeat the same talking points as Bitcoin maximalists have been repeating for the last 15 years. So it's kind of fun. They don't, in all fairness, they don't do as good of a job as us. But of course, I'm going to say that. Right? Of course, I'm going to say that. But it's funny. Anyways, it's funny to see these guys in the suits all of a sudden be like, this is a #1 asset, and you can't confiscate this, and it's better than gold. I love hyper-Bitcoinization. Anyways, would you be able to interview here? iCust is asking, would I be able to interview a real Austrian economist? You know what? Let me look into that. Let me see who we can. Who would you want me to get? Because I can harass anybody, really. I just choose not to. So you tell me who it is that you want me to harass to get on the show, and I'm going to do my best to get them on the show. Okay. Anyways, moving on from BlackRock, because that's right. There's way more retail that has shown up and that has essentially given their pitch about why they love Bitcoin. So next, right, U.S. Congressman Byron Donalds. It was kind of funny because he kind of did a little bit backpedaling at the beginning, and then he was like, but the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act, that I'm signing, right? That I'm going for. So all right, we're hearing the great things, even though it's been 6 months of absolute silence from the U.S. government about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. It doesn't matter. They're going to sign it, supposedly. Let's continue on. Okay, this guy's like a puppet on repeat, right? He's just been saying the same stuff over and over again. All right, so this is Bo. I don't remember his last name. Anyways, yeah, so Trump's executive director, boom, he loves Bitcoin. They're not going to sell any Bitcoin. And yeah, just rinse and repeat. Same thing over and over. He loves Bitcoin. He's the government. Next. All right, Bitwise CEO. In all fairness, right? Not a fan of the bankers. But I will say this. Bitwise was one of the first ones to actually do proof of reserves. And again, I don't really care if an individual, I don't think individuals should do proof of reserves, but corporations, like this whole idea that there's like this undue threat, like Michael Saylor wants to pretend when a corporation does proof of reserves. I mean, not to be a dick, but you file quarterly and annual reports. It's not like the money you have is some type of a fucking mystery. Okay, so anyways, yeah. So yeah, there you go. Bitwise CEO, $12 billion. Let's see. And yeah, you just need to allocate 1%. And of course, right, buy my shares. Right? They've got an ETF. He wants you to buy his shares. He gives you the carrot on the end of the stick. Just 1%. Just 1%. That's right. He loves Bitcoin. Buy his shares. All right. Moving on. Who do we have next? Let's see. No, I already went through that. Okay. So Eric Trump went up there a few times, and he's really impressed with all of these companies buying Bitcoin. That was really his main takeaway. Bitcoin's going to the moon, right? It's going to the moon. Every big corporation is buying Bitcoin. He's buying Bitcoin. He loves Bitcoin. His father loves Bitcoin. Brother loves Bitcoin. All right, we know you love Bitcoin. Invest in our family. Invest in our stocks, and buy our stuff. Okay, we got that. And don't forget, guys, like I'm not sitting there looking at these people pretending I'm not a hypocrite, right? I also love Bitcoin. Go check out my sponsor's webpage, right? I love Bitcoin. Check out my content. Everybody's a fucking scammer, okay? We're all scammers. Anyways, next, right? Hey, look at that. Pakistan. That's right. They are going to establish a national strategic reserve. I am definitely going to find this funny if they do this before the U.S. I am going to laugh and laugh. Is it true? Are they going to do it? I don't know. But you know what? These conferences, they always bring out the most hopium, right? Like you always hear the best stuff at these conferences, and then maybe a fraction of it ends up coming true. Okay. And on we go. Okay, so here we go. Cantor Fitzgerald, chairman, right? This is Howard Lutnick's son. He's destined for failure, right? Okay, so he's the CEO of Jack Mahler's company XXI, right? And here you go, right? Him also, fixed supply. It's beautiful. It's scientific. It's written in the code. That sounds great. Buy my shares, right? Invest in my companies. So also loves Bitcoin, which is absolutely great. And then last but not least, the person that we were all very, very happy to see up on stage, right? Sure that he wasn't forced to do this. I'm sure that he was super excited to go to the Bitcoin conference. But no, in all fairness, I think to a certain extent, right, it was a way of saying thanks. I was very happy to see him on stage. I could genuinely feel that, or at least I believe I was able to feel that he was being genuine, and that he was obviously, like, I don't think any of us really understand what it was like to be in his shoes. Although from what I saw, you can purchase his shoes, so maybe you can physically feel what it's like to be in his shoes. I don't know if I'd recommend that. Anyways, it's kind of weird. Okay, so yeah, Ross, right? That was the what was it? Ross had a good speech, but his yeah. You're not the first person that said that. It's I'm not trying to downplay what you said. I'm just saying like that there's a few people that that also as well ACP caught on to that. It was pretty interesting. Okay, so there we go. I mean, this is like a whole bunch of but guys, I'm not actually done because we got some video clips that are just ridiculous. And no, I'm not going to be showing the steak and shake cows. It's too much like the ETH dance from like 2018, I think it was. I can't. Sorry, we're gonna save that for the monthly episode where we're gonna beat up on that. But hey, great for Steak and Shake that they have a presence. Great to Steak and Shake to implement Bitcoin and Lightning payments before actual Bitcoin and Lightning payment providers. Shame on Square. Shame on Square. Anyways, so let's continue on here. This is a video that I thought was really interesting. This is JD Vance, right? Vice President JD Vance. And I thought he said something really weird. So let's take a look at this.
You all is to remember that what happens in AI is very much going to affect in good and bad ways what happens to Bitcoin. And of course, what happens to Bitcoin is very much going to affect what happens in AI. So while this is certainly a Bitcoin conference, and I know we're all proud of what you guys have accomplished over the last 10 years, my final piece of advice is to make sure you're keeping tabs on and staying involved in what's happening with artificial intelligence.
I don't know what that was. I got to be honest with you guys. I've watched it a few times. I don't get it. So JD Vance, this whole week, right? He's fudding Bitcoin with AI, right? And also at the same time, he's been fudding Bitcoin with quantum. I don't know what he's doing. I honestly have no idea what he's doing. I can appreciate his messaging though, but this isn't just unique to Bitcoiners, you know, or anything like that. This is a humanity problem, right? Everything, all of our technologies are double-edged swords, and everything is dependent on us and how we use it. So yeah, I don't know what the hell that was about. Another video I thought was pretty weird, but I'm going to show it anyways. Excuse me. Was this weird I think it's the CEO of Strive who's like pretending to have a phone call with the Zuck, right? All of a sudden the Zuck is like the Republican version of Zuck, right? He's got the fro, he's all badass, he's like, yeah, I'm the Zuck now. Anyways,
live from the Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, asking that Meta put Bitcoin on its corporate balance sheet. The case for putting Bitcoin on your corporate balance sheet has never been stronger. Right now, Bitcoin is over a $2 trillion market cap. And when you look at the macro picture, we have a...
Doesn't it kind of feel like he's just reading notes? It's like I feel like he's just talking into an answering machine. That's my personal opinion.
A global fiat debt crisis. M2 is rising almost every single day. And as M2 rises...
It's kind of funny that he's explaining this supposedly to Mark Zuckerberg, because the Zuck tried to make a shitcoin like 5 years ago, and the government was like, I don't think so, bud. You have way too big of a network. You've got over 3 billion. Yeah, exactly. Like a stupid phone call. He's got over like 3 billion people on his platform. Yeah, sure. The banks are just going to let you totally make your own token, bro. Anyways,
purchasing power of dollars or dollars that are put in short-term U.S. treasuries continues to decrease. And it's not accurate or sufficient to only look at inflation. You also have to look at the rise of asset prices, like stocks and homes. The reality is that a corporate balance sheet...
He's totally reading this, and that is totally an answering machine. I'm even going to say there's no answering machine. I'm going to say he's talking alone. Okay. That's where I'm going to go with this.
Short-term reserves is losing its ability to generate value for shareholders almost every single day. And when you add the rise of AI risk, the risk goes even larger. And to be clear, Meta has been a leader in preparing for our AI future. You took the bold step of changing your name from Facebook to Meta, and I applaud you for that, and also to be a leader in AI innovation. But the risk for most corporations is not just that. If you take a look back to the internet era, over a period of 30 years, there was a 50% turnover in the S&P 500. Our belief is that
is this guy like running an economy class or something? Like I genuinely feel like I'm sitting in grade 10 economics, but all of a sudden he's inserted some Bitcoin stuff, right? Like some Bitcoin lore.
Balance sheet. The case for putting Bitcoin on your corporate balance.
Okay, I didn't realize it was done. Anyways, all right, so we never heard the Zuck respond back. I'm pretty sure it's either answering machine or he's not actually talking to anybody. But anyways, okay. The final piece to this, okay, and this one I got to give a shout out to fellow Bitcoiner over here, Lysander. Okay, let's add this to the stage. Yeah, man. I thought that this was a great montage that he put together. Okay, and here we go. I learned so much about Bitcoin at the Bitcoin 2025 conference. Here is a summary of what I learned.
Stablecoins. Stablecoins.
From stablecoin, 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 stablecoins.
Stablecoin. 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 Stablecoin for Bitcoin. Stablecoins. Stablecoin. 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 Stablecoin.
Stablecoins.
Stablecoins.
Stablecoins. Stablecoin. Stablecoins.
Stablecoins, stablecoin,
Stablecoins.
stablecoin,
Stablecoin. Stablecoin. On stablecoins.
stablecoin, stablecoin,
Stablecoin. Stablecoin. Stable. Coins.
Stablecoin.
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 Stablecoin. Stablecoins. Stablecoin. Stablecoin.
All right, guys. Stablecoins.
Stablecoin.
Stablecoins, stablecoin, stable.
All right, I think we get the picture, right? They absolutely love Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. That's what they're talking about. Stablecoins. Oh yeah, guys. So look, I put out this meme, right? So I'm a Gen Xer, so obviously I was exposed to a lot of stupid boomer music. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I enjoy a lot of boomer music. But one of the songs, right? There's a song about the Pied Piper, right? It's Saint Siphian or something like that, back from like the 60s or something. It's like this black and white video of this guy leading a whole bunch of kids into a school, right? He's the Pied Piper. Yeah, that's kind of what we exactly I cussed, right? Stable CBDC. This is kind of what's happening, guys. So guess what? All of these politicians, all of these states, right? They love Bitcoin. They love Bitcoin. Why? Because they're going to bring you fucking stable coins. That's all there is to it. Okay. And again, you know, I'm not saying this because, oh no, Bitcoin's going to lose or something like that, and it's going to fail in the long run. You know, I'm not saying it because of that. This is all part of the then they fight you stage. This is all. I genuinely, I mean, I've been saying this for years, even from the previous show that I was on. You know, the then they fight you stage. These stages that we go through, right? They're not like they're not set in stone where all of a sudden, oh, they stopped laughing at us. Now they're fighting us. Like, no, it's not how it works, right? Like life is a whole bunch of gray areas. So all of that meshes together. So as they're laughing at us, they're fighting us, right? Like, but guess what? As they're fighting us, we're also winning. So look, hyper Bitcoinization, this whole process, all of these pieces are going to happen. For the people who thought, that they weren't going to end up seeing Bitcoin conferences just completely dilute into this mainstream garbage, I'm sorry. You know, this is not a Bitcoin conference problem. That's a human issue, right? At the end of the day, the Bitcoin conference, right? Guys like Dave Bailey, his objective, right, is, you know, I mean, he may love Bitcoin, but he also wants to get paid, right? Food on the table, right? Roof over your head, all that good stuff. So he wants to grow his audience, right? And at the same time, this is where we get into the net positive arguments, which I can't stand. But it's like, hey, you know, then you bring these people up on stage and you let them say their thing. The one thing I found extremely disappointing, though, is that a lot of the actual Bitcoiners were relegated to other stages. And in some cases, just the open source stage. From what I saw, and there's nothing wrong with the open source stage, but I was going to say that, you know, if you're going to be looking for signal at these Bitcoin conferences, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but you want to go find the more technical people. You don't like these cheerleaders, right? Like this is like these types of conferences, they're like fast food. Okay. Going to the more commercial marketing conferences, it's like you want a quick bite to eat. You want McDonald's, like, you know, it might taste good, but it's not really going to fill you up, and it's going to be kind of empty calories. That's kind of what you get. So you leave these conferences, and for the most part, you know, you're feeling good. Like, I mean, I can tell you, I'm telling you this from my experiences, right? Like I left these conferences, like I was feeling good. I was feeling hyped. Bitcoin's going to the moon, but I had no substance. There was no substance for it. It was just these empty words from these big accounts. And in this case, now with this conference, just from a bunch of politicians and business leaders, you know? So, whereas when I went to the technical conferences, I'd be like, oh my God, like this thing is unstoppable. You know, the last piece I wanted to say about this is this, right? If we think for a second that mainstream banking, and I don't even know what to call all of these people, just Wall Street, if we think for a second that they want Bitcoin, the asset, and Bitcoin, the network, we're wrong, right? Like they don't want that. They don't want Bitcoin, the network. They don't give a shit about Bitcoin, the network, but they don't understand that without Bitcoin, the network, you have no Bitcoin, the asset. Okay. So one can't, in my eyes, one can't live without the other. So unfortunately, right? Like that is the Trojan horse to a certain extent. The Trojan horse is Bitcoin, the asset, for Bitcoin, the network, which they can't stop. But they're going to try. They're going to try, right? We see all of these feuds happening, right? All of this stuff over, you know, the op return stuff and, you know, miner centralization and this and that. And it's like, hey, there is not a single entity in power that desires to give its power over to somebody else or to a different entity willingly. If anybody thinks that, you're just being naive. Anyways, guys. It's Friday. Go have a great weekend. I am done. I love my anger. Thanks. I'm sorry. No, I don't want to make you guys upset. Look, the reality is this, right? Is that I just, because I feel that when I allowed myself to be hoodwinked by a lot of this hopium in previous cycles, I feel like it didn't do me any good, right? So I just want to give people, at the very least, a objective, slightly toxic perspective, because that is how I feel, you know? So anyways, guys, have a great weekend. That's it for me. Next week, I'm working on getting Bob Burnett from Barefoot Mining on Friday. So see if I can get, because I noticed, like, even though he's even though he's like a big business dude, he seems to have some like decent Bitcoin, like normal human pleb takes. So and he seems to be generally worried about miner centralization and a lot of what's going on in the space. So I'm very curious. Anyway, so yeah, working on getting him on next Friday. Stay tuned for that. And of course, we are going to have episodes throughout the week with all the drama that's going on. Guys, have a great one. Take it easy. Peace.